Hello, and welcome to a video by Bible Truth Niagara. My name is Joanne, and I'd like to begin with a phrase association game, in which I will give you a phrase to which you may respond in your mind or out loud with whatever corresponding phrase first pops into your mind. We'll see if you can get the answer correct. Here comes. Like a good neighbor. If you guessed, State Farm is there, you would have been right. If you've never heard of that before, it simply means you're too young to remember the State Farm advertisements of a few decades ago. Now, my purpose is not to promote State Farm insurance, but instead to ask this question. Why have the State Farm people chosen the comparison of being like a good neighbor to market their insurance? Is it because they understand the extraordinary value of a good neighbor? And could it be that, like myself, they believe that being a good neighbor can be the longest lasting legacy that anyone can leave in this world? I'd like to discuss just a few of the characteristics of a good neighbor and then show how I believe that can tie into the leaving of a legacy. Most people have an innate desire to belong. They want to belong to a family or some type of group in which they feel at home. Unfortunately, today, so many people are separated from their roots because of work concerns or school concerns or health concerns. And so many people need to now look to their neighbors to fulfill that sense of belonging. I have a married son and his wife who moved away from Ontario all the way across Canada to BC, leaving behind all of their relatives and childhood friends. And as you can imagine, good neighbors are especially important to them. When I left my country home of 20 years to move into the city, I was feeling uneasy about having such close neighbors. What if they were noisy or nasty, I thought. My fears were soon put to rest soon after I moved, when an older man from across the street strolled over to introduce himself. His name was Jack. When Jack understood that I was a widow at that time, he said something that I will never forget. With a serious look on his face, he leaned in a little closer and said, "Just so you know, I do all the snow blowing on this street." And it was only September. Shortly after that, Jack's wife Judy sent over a dozen homemade muffins to welcome me to the neighborhood. Because of Jack and Judy's neighborly kindness, I felt an immediate sense of belonging in my new home. In the Proverbs it's written, "Better a neighbor nearby than a brother far away." And that is so true. No matter how much I stay in touch with my son and his wife in BC, I cannot water their plants for them or watch their house for them when they go on vacation. A person simply needs to be physically nearby to do that kind of thing. That's where good neighbors can be invaluable. Who else can you go to for that cup of sugar when you're in the middle of a recipe, or some muscle power when you're moving something that's a little heavier than you thought? Good neighbors are able to help each other in practical ways as no one else can. Now, who really is my neighbor? Just the people that live on my street? In the Bible, Jesus was asked by a Jewish lawyer at once, "Jesus, what is the greatest commandment of all?" Jesus immediately replied, "The greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself." That's how important this concept of loving our neighbors is. Jesus puts it right up there with the greatest commandment of all. Then the lawyer asked, "And who is my neighbor?" To which Jesus replies with the famous story of the Good Samaritan, which underlines that every single person who we meet who we come in contact with, who we can be of service to, are our neighbors, even strangers. One winter, my husband and I were traveling, and our car got stuck in a snowbank. Soon afterwards, 2 cars stopped, a lady from each car jumped out, and they both helped to push us out of that snowbank, and hardly stayed long enough afterwards for us to thank them. They were definitely good Samaritans. And even when there is no obvious need, we cannot assume that other people are not going through some type of difficult trial in their lives. I love the saying, "Be kinder than necessary, for everyone is fighting some kind of battle." A cheerful smile, a friendly hello might be just what that stranger at the bus stop really needs. In fact, in the book of Hebrews, chapter 13 and verse 2, it's written, "Do not forget to entertain strangers, for by so doing some have unwittingly entertained angels." Can you imagine that? God sends his angels to us, disguised as strangers, to see what we will do. Are we only talking the Christian talk, or are we walking the Christian walk? Do we take the opportunity to help a stranger when the opportunity arises? We can become focused, so focused on serving the people on our street and strangers, that it's also possible to forget to be kind to the people that we interact with every day, our family and our co-workers. Let's not forget to show them that same respect that we give to everyone else. Most people want to make a positive difference in this world. They want to leave behind a legacy that will benefit others after they're gone. Every single person, regardless of their gender, age, race, or financial situation, can leave a lasting impression on this world simply by being a good neighbor. Because being a good neighbor is an expression of love. And love is the most powerful, positive force there is. When I am the recipient of someone else's kindness, it makes me want to do something kind for the next person. This natural pay-it-forward ripple effect can take on a life of its own, causing an exponential and never-ending increase in the love level of this love-starved world. It can brighten the darkest of corners. Just imagine a room full of people and the lights go out. It's pitch dark. But every person is given a candle. There's one match in the room. The person with that match lights their candle, and with their candle lights 2 other candles. Each of those candles lights 2 more, and so on and so on. And in no time, the room is full of light. That's how it can be when we do a kind act for a neighbor. It can inspire 2 other kind acts, and those can each inspire 2 more, and they can continue on, benefiting people that we have never met, long after we're gone even. A man named Emmett Fox once said, "If only you could love enough, you would be the happiest and most powerful person on the earth." What small act of kindness can you do that you would like to see ripple its way around the globe after you're gone? In the book of Galatians, chapter 6 and at verse 10, the Apostle Paul wrote this: "As we have opportunity, let us do good to all, especially to those who are of the household of faith." We are to do good to all, not just to the household of faith, not just to the people in church or the people who we figure God is working in their lives, but to everyone. Now, why would Paul write that? I believe the answer is in 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 3 and 4, where he tells us that God desires all men to be saved and to come to the knowledge of the truth. All men. What will draw people to want to know the truth so that they can be saved? I believe that kindness and love, even to strangers, will do that. Imagine for a moment that Christ has returned. We know He's coming to establish the kingdom on the earth. Let's imagine for a moment that He has returned and we finally get to meet Him. Imagine that meeting. He is walking towards us with His arms outstretched, His eyes are sparkling, and He's smiling and calling our name, gives us a big bear hug, and then says, I just have to tell you, because I know you don't know this. Your life of loving kindness to every person that you met began so many chain reactions of loving kindness that rippled its way around the globe over and over and over again, that millions of people were affected for good. Of those millions, thousands praised my Father, all because you obeyed that second part of the greatest commandment, to love your neighbor as yourself. Through you, God has called a multitude of people into His kingdom, and they will be immortalized because they, after having received that act of kindness and been inspired to pass it on, began to take the Bible seriously, began to pray earnestly, and live lives worthy of their calling. Now I ask you, what better or longer lasting legacy could there be than that? I believe that the State Farm people are onto something, and that being a good neighbor really can be the longest lasting legacy that anyone can leave in this world. I'd like to conclude with another phrase association quiz for the purpose of helping us all to become intentional and deliberate about being good neighbors. And this time, please sing. Here we go. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. Keep going. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. Excellent. May we all add some love to this world every day by being good neighbors, whenever, wherever, and to whomever we can. And remember, it's not just for some, but for everyone. Everyone. Thank you very much for joining us at Bible Truth Niagara. Have a great day.